And we are live on
Yay.
YouTube on Love and Money Secrets TV. My friends and gems, thank you for tuning in, tapping in, turning on to this episode of Love and Money Secrets TV, because everything is a vibrational frequency of love and above. And that is tied to love and money because it's all energy. And we have from New Zealand, we have the premier, the only brain profiler in New Zealand. And when I checked in the United States a few years back, when I went to check to see how many brain profilers we had here in the United States, all the brain profilers that I looked up are all working with police departments and three-letter agencies to identify criminals and to forensically figure that aspect out. There are only maybe two in the United States on the East Coast that I could find that worked on the other side of the coin, on the side of helping humanity, people like you with families like yours, people who have children who are not neurotypical or don't appear to be neurotypical. Maybe they have dyslexia, maybe they have different neurological presentations like autism, Asperger's. I mean, there's an infinite number of labels that we can give it all. The thing is, so we have Noeline right here with us. She is a brain profiler and she is a detox and homeopathic specialist in New Zealand. Noeline, thank you for being here today with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It is wonderful to be here.
My gosh, time does fly, because last year when we first did our brain profiling session, and I remember quickly I referred you to another YouTube channel podcaster, to Rich Bontrager from Rock the Stage Media, and you profiled his brain. It was incredible because there were things about Rich that I didn't know until I watched that show that you were able to basically unpack, right? Which was very heartwarming for him. And it really, you could see how he was like really processing and digesting and almost like having this meld and integration within his system that inherently made him understand himself better. And the same thing happened to me when you did my brain profiling. So tell us more about your story. And I know we're doing, this is going to be a mini just tee up. We're going to take about 10 minutes and then we're going to come back next week and we're going to do a series, right? Moving forward.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your story and what the benefit is to that person who's looking on the camera through their eyes at this moment.
Well, Lillian, I think the most valuable thing to tell you about is that I suffered with dyslexia as a child. And I remember my headmaster standing in front of my desk telling the head teacher, she's got dyslexia, but she'll be all right. Because this is many, many years ago. They didn't know that there was anything they could do to help. And I also grew up in a family of hugely academic siblings and parents. My father was a psychiatrist, my mother was a psychologist, doctors everywhere where you looked. And they thought it was very peculiar that I didn't like to read. And they kept telling me how different I was. They kept saying, what's the matter with you that you don't like to read? And I couldn't understand what was the matter with me because I just wasn't like them. And the turning point for me was when I actually went to have my own brain profile done by this wonderful, amazing woman in Johannesburg. And I remember the feeling of having my profile done and looking at my brain from a point of view of how the wiring is affected by stress. And starting to understand myself, and I could immediately see my entire childhood fall into place because I could really understand from that moment that I wasn't stupid, I wasn't less than them, but yes, I was different. I processed differently to them. And had anybody just taken the time to understand that, I could have loved school. I could have loved education. I could have loved learning, but I hated it because it was such a trauma for me. And I've spent my life helping children and their parents and their teachers understand them better so that they have a better experience of education than I did. That's in a nutshell.
So it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me that it wasn't that you didn't have a love for learning or for reading or for experiencing school in its full, authentic space, but you literally had a wall that was in front of you. It was an invisible wall that no one could see, but you could feel it, and it was an impediment to you being able to read, to understand, to even hear, because it was a block that was in front of you. And it was like the best kept secret because no one sought out to even question that perhaps there was something else going on that's beyond what meets the eye. Is that correct?
It is correct. And it is, yes, you're right, it is an invisible wall. And I so badly wanted to be like my parents and my siblings. And we all want to belong. We all want to be, the same. And so I felt very frustrated with myself that I couldn't be like them. And so it is an invisible thing. And I think that what's important then is to know that the child who is dyslexic can read. Yeah. You just have to learn how to get into that brain. And if you're doing it the way that brain takes it in, whew, fantastic, you're in. It's not that they can't do it. They're doing it differently.
Have to do it differently.
And that's really the key. And we all think that everybody should think like we do. And if they don't, there must be something wrong with them, right? That's across the board. And that's just not true. We all think differently. And we all respond differently to stress. And half your brain actually switches off under stress. It's in order to protect your brain. And that changes from each of us. So some of us don't speak under stress. Some of us don't listen. Some of us can't read. So, and some people are incredibly sensitive to humiliation. So if you put that child in a class and the teacher now says to that child, what is the answer to this question? And the child is in panic. It's not that they don't know the answer, but they're in panic. They might not be able to speak. They get laughed at by the other children. This can be an unholy mess for that child. So teachers knowing what those children, how those children respond to stress is one of the most valuable things imaginable. I just don't see how every single child needs to be profiled. Every child, whether they've got a learning disability or not, because they're just your understanding of them and how they operate and what you can do to help them thrive is just off the chart. There just isn't anything like it. And of course, when we do find a place where there is something that's stuck, we've now got incredible things that we can do to help that child to get through.
So it sounds to me like you're uniquely qualified to literally put the power tool in the hands of both child and parent, so that invisible cement wall that is an impediment, that's invisible to everybody, but is very felt, seen, and experienced by that child. And the parent, of course, the mother can tell that there's something going on there too, right? So
right.
You're a power tool, putting it in the child's hand, putting it in the mother's hand as well. And now this giant wall disintegrates, because now you can, based on the brain profiling, you can help them process that information and give them that power tool that will facilitate them moving forward. It's going to not just, it's more than the physical eyes being seen, because there is an energetic component to this, but you're helping them see in a different way, hear in a different way, so that now they can enjoy the process of learning, to accept, to receive, to embrace, and to integrate this information in a way they could not before, because no one's acknowledging that big, gigantic cement wall is keeping them from seeing and from hearing. Is that right?
Correct. Exactly. In fact, as we're talking, I remember a young man that I saw, actually, he spoke French, so his mother had to do the translation. So while I did the profile with him, she was helping me in the translation. And I did his profile. He's 16. He had dropped out of school. And when I had finished the profile, he turned to his mother and smiled. And he said to her, "Do you see?" And she wrote to me afterwards and said that this was the first time he had smiled in years. And that the fact that I really saw him and acknowledged him and saw him for who he was gave him so much encouragement to go forward, that we were able to find the things that he was going to be good at. He's now thriving. And so it was like a gateway. It was like the key to open a gate that had been locked. And if you just ignore it, the person just goes down the gobbler, because no one is seeing them. No one is understanding them. And what is the thing that we want most in life? We want to be seen. We want to be acknowledged for who we are, where our strengths lie. How am I different to you? And it is so valuable. It's valuable literally across the board. And I know I get into trouble for saying this, but it's valuable in relationships. It's valuable in family dynamics. It just, there isn't a time that knowing how you respond to stress and knowing how you communicate effectively isn't a valuable thing. It's just so, it couldn't be more valuable, actually, as we go forward.
So I want to talk a little bit, we only have a few more minutes to kind of get into this. So this is just going to whet your appetite and start to introduce you to this power tool called brain profiling. And as I mentioned before, Noeline is an acute homeopath. She's a detox diva in her own right. She was recently quoted in a book about the 8 things the doctor lied to me about, which was written by Annie Catterall. And Annie has the ordeal of her, of a lifetime that she went through as well. But she accredited her work with Noeline when she discovered Noeline, and how Noeline was able to bring that power tool and empower her with that brain profiling session that helped integrate and, again, facilitate this process of restoring her health to a younger, healthier state with a few other tools, which Annie talks about in her book. But Noeline is pointed out and teed up as an expert in that book. So I want to talk a little bit about the fact that you have a few tools in your arsenal. And I know personally from my interactions with you over the last year and a half or two, that there was a young woman. This woman had gone through this horrific experience of having horrible depression. And she was literally, I don't know if it was days or hours away from being institutionalized in a mental hospital. But every experience that you have had, Noeline, the fact that you were dyslexic, the fact that you had other things that took place from childhood to this moment, it's a lifetime to get to where you are right now. And that has become your superpower, because not only did you use it for yourself, not only did you use it for your family, but you are also able to use it on the clients that you now serve. And you were able to single-handedly, and I will say it was single-handedly, I remember very clearly as if it were yesterday, because that woman teenager was going to be institutionalized in a mental hospital. And she did not have a psychotic break. She did not have anything that would benefit her by putting her in a mental institution. You identified through brain profiling and through a session with her that she had an unbalanced thyroid. And now that has come to pass. Can you share a little bit about that story?
Yeah, that was such an interesting story because of as you rightly say, I've had a daughter who had thyroid disease. And so my only life experience allowed me to see this woman. And when she started to explain what was happening to her, I knew immediately what I was looking at. And then I could draw on the tools that we have, like the light patches, which are just for me the most miraculous thing available on the planet, because of course you're not putting medicine into the body, you're getting your own body to heal itself, which for me is number one. It's 10 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned. And I just could see that we needed to bring that thyroid into balance. And the moment we did that, her whole behavior would change. But what was striking to me is that had she not landed in front of me, you're right, she would have been institutionalized, because the things that she was doing to herself were really severe and scary as heck. And so absolutely, if you see this out there, and it can really, really be incredibly serious, because they are frighteningly ill. And of course, this happens across the board on many different fronts. And so it can be scary, no question. But we have tools. So yes, our brain profile is so important because we need to see how is that brain working. And then all the other information that we have about toxicity and looking at what we know today as thyroid disease, which is, of course, an imbalance of your hormones, which can send us mad, really. It's quite simple. And so, yes, we can now draw on things that balance the thyroid. And so sorry. And other things that can really send us out of whack. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. We have the tools now that can help. And it does help for us to know what we're looking at. There's no question.
You know, I want to bring people's attention to this because it's not just little children or school-age children. Think about the number of people. I mean, just based on this one woman, this one teenager, because wasn't she like 17, 18 years old?
Yeah.
And think about all the people who are wrongfully put into mental or psychiatric institutions that desperately need this help. They need to have their brain profile. They need to be assessed. They need to have the resetting and regeneration of their body to reset and rebalance everything to its original state. Think about how many people who are being underserved and they're put into that institution. The key is like lock, keys thrown away, and they figure they're being taken care of, but they're not really benefiting. What a waste of a life. What a horrific life sentence that is. It doesn't have to be that way. So friends and gems, you guys who are watching this at this moment right now, whether you're watching this live, because I believe that the eyeballs that are looking through the camera right now that are watching this on YouTube, make no mistakes. There are no accidents. There are divine appointments. This is a God incidence. That's where 2 points in time meet for your benefit, and you're learning, you're seeing, you're recognizing this for a particular reason. And, or if you're watching this on the replay, you're watching it at the perfect time that you needed to receive it. You can put a comment below. You can also find Noeline Levinson on Facebook. I will put her Facebook profile so that you can connect to her on Facebook, and you can reach out to her, ask her questions if you want to book a session with her, whatever questions you might want to ask. And we are going to be coming back to do a series. We're going to be doing this about once a week, once every 10 days, as because I know I'm leaving the last week of July, so I'm going to be in Orlando, so I won't be able to do it that week. But basically about once a week, every 10 days, we are going to be on here talking about this extremely important topic about the health of your brain, about how profiling it, getting the power tool in your hand so that you can help yourself. And if you are married, or if you are the mother of, or the child and needs, you know, you might be a teenager, you might be 15 years old and going, hey, maybe mom, check this out. I think maybe I need this.
Totally right.
Is here. And no, you know, what wouldn't we give to get our health and to get our life in order? We'd give $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, but it's not going to cost that. This is definitely within the reach of most people. And so I encourage you to reach out. There's more help available for you than you can possibly imagine. Noeline is in New Zealand. I'm in Southern California. Time, space, distance doesn't matter. You're watching on Facebook and on YouTube for free. Think about that. How incredible that we happen to be born at a time and place where this is possible. So reach out to Noeline Levinson. I will put her Facebook profile so that you can reach her there. I will also, I know she has a Facebook group that we will also make available. Once you connect to her, she can send you to that. You can always connect to me as well, but things happen for a reason. You've been asking, you've been praying, you've been seeking, and now the answer, the window of opportunity is finally here for you. Noeline.
Fantastic. Thanks, Lillian.
Beautiful friend, Gem. Radiant. You always glow. Thank you for having the courage to step out in faith and share your superpower with me, and for anyone who has eyes and ears and who's willing to listen. I'm honored to always be in your presence. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.
Ciao for now, my friends and gems.
Ciao.